You know, if we had a Jaeger, you know what we should call it?
What?
Diablo Sigma. Hi everybody, welcome back to Comic Universe, the only nerd-centric thing you need in your life.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the new office.
The new YOUniverse HQ.
That's it.
Yeah, we had our own little rebirth, you know?
It's
we
2 in 1 month. Look at that.
Yeah, it's like, well, we're not. It's like Marvel Legacy, and then suddenly becoming Fresh Start. It's our own Fresh Start.
That's it. All right, guys. So today on the table we have.
We're doing a review of Pacific Rim Uprising. Yeah. The name got away from me. I was like Pacific Rim. I was like, what's the other name?
Yeah, this is the subtitle name, right? Yeah. So man, this movie was unique. It was interesting. Unfortunately, no Del Toro. In this particular incarnation of the sequel, but
we did get Stephen S. DeKnight, who most of you guys would know best as the main showrunner of Daredevil season 1,
right?
Which I thought was an interesting pick. I mean, he had never done really anything kaiju centric, but I guess everyone was obviously because Daredevil season 1 is the best,
right?
But I think he was an interesting pick. And it was nice to actually have this movie off the ground after 5 years.
It took forever to get.
Yeah,
I know. And I'm a huge fan of the first one, so the fact that we were even getting a second one, I was in for the long haul. I was like, I don't care really what it's about. So I was definitely going to see it. And after seeing it, DPZ, I gotta say, I enjoyed it. I think a lot of the critics that have been kind of watching this movie have been a little harsh. It's definitely not better than the first one. I don't think that it's gonna win any Oscars. But overall, I had a good, fun summer movie time, if you will. Just go in and enjoying kaijus and robots and just mechs going at it. Now, could we have gotten more of that in this film?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will tell you guys right now, we are going to talk about some spoilers. So if you don't want to see that, back out now. But yeah, we're going to be doing spoilers because I feel like you need to spoil some of the stuff in here.
Well, we can get through most of it.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a point where my favorite part of the movie where I definitely I haven't heard any reviewer talk about it, and I think if the reviewers were talking about that or focusing a little more on that, they'd realize how much more they like this movie.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you could not like it without this particular spoiler part. But
yeah, but I guess for right now we can we can do spoiler free.
Yeah.
I guess like the first thing is that we obviously have a major actor shift and change because we don't have Charlie Hunnam in here. We do have John Boyega, which I was from the get-go I was excited to have.
Absolutely.
Because I think like he is definitely becoming a rising star.
For sure. I mean, I think he's already there.
Yeah.
Personally, I think he's already there.
I think I've liked him since if you ever saw the movie Attack the Block.
Attack the Block, heck yeah. Funny enough, the teeth in that movie kind of look like the kaiju's blood in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I didn't think of that.
That's pretty funny, right?
Yeah, I think he's like a lot better than Hunnam. I like Charlie Hunnam.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like Boyega's performance and like his presence feels more like where Hunnam was just kind of stale and kind of dragged. You get that with Boyega's character, but it's on a whole new level. Is that he has a lot more charisma. Like you want to follow this guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just his charisma, and he could probably read the phone book, and I would probably pay attention, to be honest with you. He's just got this charisma in his voice, and of course the accent and everything just kind of adds to it. And this is one of those where he was allowed to really, use his accent too. Like he didn't have to hide it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
I think he was definitely like the main drive for this film, and like
Sure.
when he's on set, you're focused solely on him. And
Absolutely.
the other guy who was really a standout in here was Scott Eastwood. Who I didn't realize it up until I finally saw him in a main role. God, he looks so much and sounds like his dad.
Yeah, really in the eyes, like everything nose up, and when he squints, he has the crow's feet and everything, just like his dad. And I would say he's not necessarily as good of an actor as his dad, but he's still a young actor, so I mean, there's time for him to grow into it. But he did a good job.
He's not and the other thing is that even though he looks and sounds like his dad at point, like there's one moment where he's just going on this rant, and I'm like, I'm hearing Clint right now.
Yeah, I mean, and as of right now, I think it's a good thing. Who knows if we'll get sick of it in the future, but...
Yeah, I know you want him as Wolverine.
Oh, I want him as Wolverine bad. If the MCU does not pick him as Wolverine, I'm going to be very disappointed.
He's my second round pick. Richard Armitage who is currently going to be doing Wolverine in the podcast, the radio play Wolverine the Long Night.
Right.
but Eastwood's my second round pick. He was really good, and I like the chemistry between him and Boyega, where it's very rivalry-ish, but you do see there's some respect there.
Sure.
The other characters, I like them, but at other times I forget they're there because I'm so wrapped up in,
what Boyega's doing, really.
Yeah, Boyega and Eastwood are doing. And
I mean, they're the stars, to be honest with you. So, I mean, there is a third character. I don't know the actress's name, but
the character Amara, she's our eyes going in, and I dig the little Jaeger because I saw that thing in the trailers and I was like, oh, that thing's gonna annoy me. It's gonna be like a little Bayformers Bumblebee. And it kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, it kind of did.
But it didn't get to the annoying parts. Like, it's kind of cool in a way, like how they utilize it of the small size.
The junk Jaeger that she essentially puts together, she's kind of the concept of the film really is just the war's over, we've won, and there's still some people that are rebelling in terms of like in almost a religious sense. They still pray to the Jaegers and things like that, which was kind of cool.
That's what I really like, is that this really deals with aftermath.
Right.
I think that's really cool that this is a film that really deals with a lot of aftermath and what do you do after you survive the apocalypse.
Right.
And it shows that some of the world hasn't really fixed itself.
Right.
Which realistically it wouldn't. Even now, like you look at the world and there are some places that
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You're just dealing with the aftermath of a hurricane, and
it's very like it really reminds you that sometimes the world just kind of leaves everyone to die in a very cruel way, and it's a really shitty thing. And also you've got they mentioned kaiju cults, and again that would be like an actual.
I think so too.
And I think that's really cool that there's a lot of world building in here, but it's not in your face.
Right, and it's not the focal point to the show or to the movie either. So it's just it's something to think about, or something that might even lend itself to the comic books or even fan fiction or things to that nature, or maybe an animated or maybe a TV series that comes to Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, like this.
There's other avenues.
This whole movie feels like a pilot for an animated. I would be down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Either or. I would take a live action or an animated either way. But I would prefer the anime to be something like on Netflix where it's a little more adult centric. Not necessarily slapstick or comedy like a Nickelodeon show or anything like that.
Well, if it did like something in the vein of the TMNT animated series or Danny Phantom.
But that is few and far between. For every one of those, we get like Teen Titans Go, and that's what I'm afraid of. We get something like that. Or
I get you.
So and in most cases, that is what we end up getting and nowadays, or something I don't want.
But yeah, the other thing is that this really kind of plays on a lot of what do we do if they come back, and it kind of shows that the world is always evolving, and it's really trying to show that the world is kind of in this state of, well, we won, screw them, and the other half is like, did you not notice that they might come back? Do you ever think that the alien race might be smart enough to think of an out, which we'll get to that, because it's a smart out.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, the world, what they really show with the film is that some of the people have decided that maybe it's better to live in, for instance, Boyega, he's living in a mansion that has a kaiju destroyed on top of it. And he's like,
I just squat here.
Yeah, he's like, it's better to live in a mansion with a kaiju breaking through your roof than go, pay for an apartment that's, 2 by 2 and it sucks, So he's living the life, and really another thing that's really cool about the movie, it kind of shows that how difficult it is to fill a legend's shoes.
Yeah.
And his dad, obviously, one of the main factors in the first movie that saved the world, essentially. Yeah. And he has these humongous shoes to fill. And
he doesn't want to be in his shadow.
Yeah, and it was A, too much for him, and then B, he just decides it's not for me. I don't want to live this life.
Yeah.
He really joined them initially to, like he said, to hopefully, drift with his dad, connect with his dad, and maybe, pilot a Jaeger with his dad, and obviously that never happened.
Yeah. The other stuff that comes up is the big twist, which I was not predicting.
Yeah, neither was I. Didn't see it coming
the monster action in here is I wouldn't say I liked it more than the first one, but they do some really unique stuff, and there's actually mech on mech fights, which I think I was looking at you in the theater, you like that more than the kaiju fights.
Yeah, it was really cool. At first I wasn't digging it initially. I thought I wasn't going to like it because I knew that was a big part of the film. Because if you don't know, with slight spoiler, along with the world where we are, is we have a lot of smugglers, I guess you would call them.
Smugglers and pirate and war. Even
They're
like,
basically piloting any. They're going into Jaeger junkyards and stealing pieces to make mechs for themselves. All around the world, you have these little terrorist groups and other army factions, and even civilians who are afraid
of the kaiju,
and
even the government.
Yeah, the kaiju coming back, and they want to be prepared. So they're building their own Jaegers and unsanctioned Jaegers, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's where we get the third main character, Amara. Her what was it? Scrapper. You know, and he was really cool. You know, he was little, he was agile. It was able to run just with one pilot.
And I think that was another cool angle to play with the rogue Jaegers, because again, we do that because the human race is a shitty race.
Yeah, I mean,
we would do that the moment if we could, and we had the tech. The moment we lose the kaijus, we turn it on ourselves because that's what we are.
Yeah.
I hate to sound pessimistic, but come on.
That is the world we live in.
Yeah.
And they even showed us in the first one, you know, we were using them on the black market. You know,
the kaiju.
This is just the next step, you know, in evolution of it all. Is we were using the kaiju, now let's use the mechs. You know, I might as well.
Yeah.
So, and with those rogue factions, we end up seeing a rogue Jaeger. I forget the name of the Jaeger, but he's really slick.
Obsidian.
Right.
Obsidian Tango or something. Obsidian Fury.
And long story short, he's just more agile. He seems to be more powerful than them. And it's really his agility that seems to throw the Jaegers off, essentially. Especially Gypsy. So when this Jaeger shows up and he just decimates Gypsy and plays it for a fool, essentially.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're getting into some spoiler territory now. So, guys, if you really don't want to be spoiled, come back to us after you see the film. So, you know, you can drop a comment down below and let us know. But I guess now, spoiler alert.
Yeah, because now we're getting closer to that.
Right. So the thing is with this particular Jaeger is that its brain, turns out to be
a kaiju
monster.
And it turns out that these kaiju, we didn't harvest them, someone manufactured them.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is that the whole movie you're thinking, you know, the new character they introduce is Sho, who is this she's almost like a Lex Luthor character.
Sure, yeah, I can see it.
And you think she's the big villain. And I should have seen this earlier, is that they're building her up to be this big villain. And I should have seen earlier that she's not the main villain. Turns out Dr. Newton is. Remember him from the actor who also plays what's his face in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. He turns out that he's been drifting with the kaiju brain he has for the past 10 years, with the brain he used to help save the world. And now he's been possessed by the aliens, the precursors.
Yeah, they essentially brainwash him.
Yeah, and make him like their avatar on Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And his plan is kind of interesting because they did something you were like, holy shit.
I was up at the edge of my seat at the end of this. So, guys, if you're still with us, we get to see Jaeger mechs and kaijus as one.
Yeah.
And it's something I don't think anyone has ever thought of before, having a kaiju mech. I mean, come on.
Well, the closest we ever got was Kiryu from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla.
Right.
Because that was the original Mechagodzilla encased in a metal body.
Right.
But that was the closest. But this was the next step.
Right, and it comes, so basically, it turns out that the AI that they were creating was all these brains from the kaiju. They essentially are grown inside the Jaegers, and then they morph, evolve, whatever you want to call it. They essentially burst out of their shell, and they're just a hybrid between the two. And let me tell you, man, this part is where I really was wishing Del Toro was with us still, because I think what he could have made those things look like. Not that they look bad; they look great.
It kind of like your wife's mentioned is like they were kind of like giant necromorphs.
Necromorphs. They almost like some of the tentacles and things like or like limbs, if you will. But man, he would have made it look. He would have taken it from a 9 to a 10, because they're probably in an 8 or a 9 range now, so they do look good. But man, he would have made them top notch. So these creatures, man, they morph and they wreck shit.
And they're even doorways for the kaiju, and I thought that was really cool.
That was cool too.
It was like, that makes sense. Like, wouldn't you have this this big? If you're gonna try to invade the world again, wouldn't you have like your own doorways? And now to have multiple, I thought that was an interesting way. And again, having Dr. Newton, I can't remember the actor's name, hit the character Dr. Newton as this big villain, because I honestly thought like the story angle they were going with was he was just addicted like to the brain like
That's
crack.
what I thought too.
Yeah, and his friend would have to like slap him out of it. But yeah, I liked the angle they went that he was this, this, like I said, avatar for the precursors to kind of do phase 2 for their plan.
And it essentially was to open up a portal with their chest beams to let more kaiju out. And it turns out 3 particular kaiju come out, 2 level 4s and a category 5 come out.
Yeah.
And they wreck shit.
in Japan, I was like, best place
so
to do.
typical, right?
Yeah. A certain giant radioactive lizard would have words with you.
Oh, for sure.
But the other thing when we get to the kind of the negatives, which the more I think about, the less, but they are there, is that, and this is what really got me. At the end of the fight, the end fight is that we have characters die, like these young cadets, which we haven't talked about because that's one of the negatives I guess we'll mention, is that some of these cadets die. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, and I was like, that really shows that no one's really safe because this is a war. You're fighting these giant monsters. There's going to be, fallout and collateral.
So basically the Jaeger kaiju, whatever you want to call them, they end up wrecking all of the army bases that have Jaegers.
Yeah.
Okay, the kaiju, I should say. They wreck them all, and turns out we have just our 2 main actors, okay, that are three. We have 3 actual rangers, and then the rest are all cadets. So they're all rookies, never even been in a fight before.
And the cadets
training in VR.
The cadets storyline doesn't really. It just feels like an afterthought at points. Like there are points where they show up, and I was like, I literally forgot you were in this movie.
Right, absolutely.
And even with Amara, I know she's the cadet and all that, but even then I forget about her at times because it feels like they wanted to do a lot and with the cadets, but it didn't feel like that was a main story drive because you had so much going on as it is. The cadets were just kind of there to be the end fight.
Right.
That was all they felt like they were there for. But and we don't get a lot of story with them except for one, Victoria, and there's not even much for that.
Right.
Which I had to really listen in on because, god damn it, this is the 4th time in a row I've gone to a theater with a friggin' baby crying in the theater. I can't win.
That, and there was just a little too much, can't jump into the negative here. There was a little too much exposition, if you will.
Yeah.
So many new characters that they took a lot of time to try to.
And even the love interest for Scotty.
The triangle.
Well, it wasn't even a triangle. It just felt like, we just have a girl who likes both, I guess. They didn't even talk that out fully.
Right, yeah. So at the end, she ends up kissing. And honestly, to me, I think she was like the poor man's version of Michelle Rodriguez. That's really what I got.
For a brief moment, I was like, I didn't know. Oh, that's not her.
Same thing. I was like, when they first introduced her, I was like, that Michelle Rodriguez? I was like, oh wait, no, that's not her. But she's literally, and no disrespect to the actress, and it's the first time I think I've ever seen her on film. She did fine for what she was given, but she literally looks, acts, and sounds like Michelle Rodriguez from any movie you've ever seen. Michelle Rodriguez.
Mostly the Fast and Furious.
Mostly, but yeah.
But she is just kind of there. Like, I forget she's there most of the time, and same thing with the cadets. And you don't really feel anything when a few of them die.
And what sucks is that there was even they give one particular cadet, I believe he's Indian or Middle Eastern, and this way if you see the movie you know who we're talking about. They even give him a little segment where he talks about, if and when he dies, how he kind of wants to be remembered, and turns out his dad is a plastic surgeon, so they basically, the cadets are ragging on him. It's like, maybe you should go work on boobs. He goes, that's what your dad does. Maybe you're not cut out for this. He goes, and when he dies, how he wants to kind of be remembered, and and then
the movie just ends.
He's the guy that dies, and they don't. I was hoping for something like some sort of like
remembrance.
Let's give him
on
what
that
he
wall.
deserved.
Yeah,
absolutely. That would have been perfect. There's like a hologram wall that has all the
slain pilot.
Yeah, exactly. So Idris Elba's up there, and his the Asian girl, his daughter, Mako. Yeah. So, and then I was expecting to see him up there, but nothing. And I was just like, oh man, that was just a little bit. That would have been so good.
Yeah.
And they didn't give it to us. So
that's the other thing is that this movie just ends.
It kind of does.
Just ends with a weird ass snowball fight between Boyega and Amara. I apologize for getting the forgetting the actress's name. The other thing, that they're just minor, like, again, way too much exposition, and I feel like there were some slow points, again, and that mostly came from the cadets, but I feel like the end monster fight, and a lot of people seem to forget that even in the first movie, the kaiju fight that everyone remembers didn't really happen until, like, the third act.
Yeah.
And there was, like, the only way that everyone remembers all those kaiju fights, because there was these little background things. It was very much a character story than it was a monster story.
Right.
That's same here, but I don't think it hit the same mark.
No,
as the first.
it definitely didn't. And that could also be because Del Toro wasn't there. He's so known for his monsters that...
And for, well, I'd say character, because obviously
No,
the guy won like 4 Oscars
Right.
for Shape of Water.
For both, I would say, yeah. So he would definitely give enough attention to both. But again, guys, you know, the 3 kaiju that actually come out, they turn out to almost be morphed together at the very end. So we get this.
We get literally a make my monster grow moment.
Oh yeah, literally, right? And it turns, because if you're going to category them as 2 4s and a 5, we end up with 13. Okay, and it's towers over all the Jaegers, and it just and it was really cool though to see the Jaegers, all their different abilities and how they acted, and I was really digging that. But man, it just wrecks the Jaegers, and essentially it wins. And there's a little, real quick, there's a little subplot that we kind of skipped over. Newt and whoever his partner was in the first one, the other doctor.
Yeah.
The other doctor is a part of the military still, and he has come up with an idea on how to make the Jaegers fly. And it's using kaiju blood mixed with certain elements found here on Earth. And it basically is more powerful than rocket fuel.
It's basically they make the Jaegers into like give them nitro fuel.
Right, exactly. So this little thing that's mentioned in the very beginning of the film, pretty much, ends up turning out to be what the whole story is about, because the what are they called? The Reach, not the Reach.
The precursor.
The precursor. The Reach. What are the Young Justice? The precursors, they figured this out too, that the elements will cause essentially a bomb. And this giant monster is essentially going to Mount Fuji and is going to basically cause the apocalypse.
So they had to cancel it again.
Right.
But I like the movie itself is pretty funny. Again, it lags, and I know a lot of people have been saying like, oh, it's not as good as the first movie. I was like, well, what do you expect? And even then,
most
like
movies aren't.
You know, everyone's kind of expecting, you know, for most sequels these days to be like the next Empire Strikes Back in terms of, well, it was good the first time, it better be better than in the second time.
Or Terminator 2.
Yeah. Or The Dark Knight, or you know, I could go on. But the thing is that even when I look back at Pacific Rim, and I love that movie, I can see that there are flaws there.
Of course.
And I feel like this movie's just ragged on a little too hard, because again, it's not Del Toro, and people really, you know, don't think about, oh, it's not really a monster fight until the end. And that was a little disappointing at first, but the more I thought, I was like, yeah, but they made up for it with kick-ass mech fights, and really going for the thing of, well, this is what happens after you survive a kaiju war.
Right. The little insight that we got is really cool, and I think overall, I had a good time. It was fun. I got to see something in terms of the YOUniverse, you know, from Days of Godzilla's and Power Rangers and all of the above. I've never seen that blend together as done as well as it was here. The twist I didn't see coming. I think overall I had a good time.
I was like, I walked out, I was like, it was okay, but when I walked out, and the more I've kind of talked about this, is like, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of big reviewers, we're not going to shit talk anyone, but a lot of people have been really like hammering this one into the ground.
Some of it might be nostalgia for the first movie, the way they felt about it.
It's not, you know, if you're going in with the expectation of the first movie, I'd say set that bar a little low. Like, you know, if you are hyped for Rampage and have that level of expectation, go into Uprising with this level of expectation.
Right.
And I would say, you know, it's definitely a matinee movie. I gotta be honest, I wouldn't watch his premiere night.
No, I wouldn't deal with the crowd in that.
But I would say matinee, that's what we did, you know?
Yeah, right now. We literally just got out of seeing the film. So, you know, basically, let's give this one a rating. What would you say?
Out of 5 or 10?
Let's do 5.
Right. I'm going to go 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5? I'm right there with you. 3 out of 5 as well for me.
Good. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Definitely. So, guys, check it out. Let us know if you've already seen this in the comments below.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. You know, what did you like? What you didn't like? You know. Oh, and also at the very end of the movie, we kind of get a little hint of maybe if there is a third one. Might be another 10 years before we see it.
Well, technically, the sequel took 5 years.
Right, so that's why I was giving another 5 on top of it. A little insight that maybe we're going to go on the offense, which we talked a little bit about, that it might make this movie, the third one, that much more interesting if we're actually going and attacking them for a change instead of sitting here.
And hopefully it'll be better than Resurgence.
Right,
you know,
definitely.
Like, oh, it's time to take the fight to them. I was like, I hope not. This time around, I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot. Now if we can maybe take what they've done to us and turn it around on them, that'd be even cooler.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe we'll have a kaiju turn into a mech.
Well, then you have Kiryu, so.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, just comment below. Let us know what you guys think. Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. This one's going to be very, because I've looked at outside of like the major critics, I've seen like a lot of like kaiju enthusiasts and all that really enjoy this movie. So I don't know. Maybe it's a taste thing. I don't know.
That could be.
Yeah.
You know, and I think also when you go into a kaiju movie, that's really what you want to see.
Yeah.
And if you don't get enough of it, we're quick to be like, movie sucked.
Yeah.
Okay.
But think of it, you know, when you really think of it, Craig, it's interesting to note that we are getting not even like a full month, like 4 or 5 weeks from now, we're getting Rampage, which is, I know, technically a video game, but we're getting technically back-to-back kaiju films.
Right, and we got, Godzilla and King vs. King Kong, and with Godzilla 2 coming around, not too far.
Yeah, and we've also got the second Godzilla anime film coming out.
Right. And we just got the first one not too long ago.
Yeah,
so,
which...
it's a good time to be, it's still a good time to be a kaiju fan, you know, regardless, you know. Well, guys, definitely comment, subscribe, like, share with your friends, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah. And once again, see you once more in the universe.